Hi, baddies. Welcome back to another episode of Terra's Baddies Club. I am so excited today because I have Jarek Addison coming on. He is one of my good friends. He has the Frenchie Coalition with Troy Jensen, and also he manages Troy Jensen as well. Then he also does branding, marketing, project development, and he also is a producer. So we're going to get into all the good stuff today. We're going to talk about marketing, Frenchies, rescuing, and all that good stuff. So let's welcome my friend Jarek. Welcome, Jarek. Hi, Jarek. I'm so excited to have you on today. Thank you for coming on. For the folks that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Tara. I'm Jarek Addison. I work with my best friend and my business partner, Troy Jensen, here in Los Angeles, who you know. He's a famous makeup artist and photographer. I met him when I was 18, so almost 20 years ago. Just come to LA, and he kind of offered me my first job that wasn't like, retail or in a store or something like that. It was actually just carrying his makeup bags to set. So it was kind of crazy because I had just moved to LA and I'm from northern Minnesota. So it was like, watching music videos on MTV and stuff at home in my living room during the summer. And then the next thing you know, like 3 months later, I'm out here on the set of music videos with Troy, was literally watching Pussycat Dolls on videos at home, and then I'm on set with him, just assisting and stuff. So it was kind of a surreal thing. Anyways, I assisted him for a few years. He taught me, how to do makeup. I actually did a couple TV shows, toured with Ashley Tisdale, and did some other fun projects. And then, he started to get into photography not long after. I mean, he was already doing it, but kind of came out as a photographer when he was developing Kim Kardashian. So I was there through that, and that kind of launched him into a lot of image and branding, and I got more into production, so the production side of our business and his business. And so I started producing all of his shoots, and one thing led to another, and that kind of got us into like product development with our celebrity clients, bringing in his clients to develop anything from jewelry, fashion, beauty, pet products, which is a passion of ours. And I have little Lucy here, one of these little passion projects of ours. And from there we got into manufacturing products on our own and working with professionals. And now I work with fashion, jewelry, beauty brands, doctors, dermatologists, aesthetics offices, plastic surgeons, real estate, you name it. And I kind of launched this whole segment of our business in the last 10 years, where now we're doing marketing and ads. So we're kind of like a one-stop shop where he does image and branding, and then I do marketing and advertising and product development. And so that's kind of how we got to where we are. And you know that's me.
I love it so much. And then we met through Lenora Claire,
Yeah.
our good friend, and we were working on, or you were working on, a skincare company.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yes, we brought you in. You were one of our little guinea pigs for for one of our marketing things. Actually, I brought you to a couple of things I was just remembering the other night. I won't mention names, but there was an aesthetics office that I was working with, and you came to it, remember? And they had a new machine in there, and they shocked you with it, remember?
Oh my gosh, yes, they
Speaking
did
about it
it.
last night, I was like, that's right, they shocked her. They were like, I remember at first you went in the room, and I was talking to someone, you went in the room, and then I was like, oh, wait, I need to go in there with her. And they were like, oh no, she's getting naked. And I was like, no, it's okay, it's me.
Doesn't matter.
So you're like, Derek, it's fine. And then they were doing it, and one was teaching the other one. I was like, oh, wait, they don't know how to run this thing yet? And then they shocked you, and I was like, and you were just like, ow, okay, it's okay. I was like, wow. And afterwards, they were like, "Do you want to try it?" I was like, "Nope, no, I
No,
don't.
I'm good now.
I don't work for that office anymore. Won't mention their name, but
Oh my gosh. Well, they gave a book to me. I haven't read it
yeah,
yet, but
me
it's
either.
about the universe or something.
Yeah, I wanna
Yeah.
read that book too, but I actually don't even know where I put it. I'm literally in my office right now, and there's so many books in here. I'm like, "Oh, that's not one of the ones that I've read yet," but it looks
Yes.
really interesting.
Well, they also did ketamine treatment there.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think so.
that's what I was interested in for trauma,
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I heard it works. That
yeah.
and I know people that do, microdosing and stuff too, and that's really helped them as well.
But yes, we talked about that actually with Troy on the podcast too.
Oh, you did? Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
it really helped him, it was so crazy.
Yes. Those mushroom chocolates.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna be using you for some of my other projects. There's so many little things going on with different people and, but, one of the things I wanted to come on and talk about was our little passion project, and that is rescue, and this is Lucy.
Yes.
Lucy was rescued last summer in July. She was actually about to be euthanized, and Troy's sister has a rescue, and we've already been rehoming and rescuing Frenchies because we obviously have a few of our own. So she saw this one was at a shelter and she sent it to us, and I spent like literally 12 hours scrambling trying to find anybody that could foster her or take her because I was just like, I can't have another dog in my house. Obviously, that didn't hold. I have another one. But we ended up finding my neighbor who was actually she might see this, but she lives just a couple houses down. She has a few Frenchies of her own, and she saw my post and she was like, my brother could take her. And so she actually met me down at the shelter, and we were able to get her. Troy's sister pulled her and she went there to heal and recover for about 3 months. They were going to adopt her, but it didn't work out. She needs to be like the only dog, I think, in a house with somebody because she gets really attached to one person, and then through Troy and I, she's been able to like start to love on Troy, but it takes time. She's been through some stuff. She was a breeder's dog, so somebody was breeding her. She had a couple C-section scars, and then they dumped her like very shortly after she had the last litter of puppies. They just dumped her at the shelter. They basically gave her a death sentence and said, she's aggressive. And as soon as you say a dog's aggressive, and a lot of people do it now just to dump them, they get put on a rescue only list, which means the normal population, even if they think they're cute, you or me, and we're like, oh, we want that dog, they'll say no. It needs to go through a rescue and they need to sign off on it. So thankfully, we had a rescue that was able to get her. But as soon as I saw the notes on her from Troy's sister, I was like, there's no way. There's no way she's, a
Yeah.
nasty dog, And when I got her, she had kennel cough from the shelter. Her ears were so swollen and closed up from infection, and her paws were really bad. And she had a lot of like, dermatitis and stuff on her. So these people weren't taking care of her anyway. She was severely neglected. And I think that she had been abused because she was really afraid to be touched and stuff like that. But it took a couple days, didn't it? It took a couple days. Thank you, sweetheart. It took a couple days for her to adjust. And, she has her little crate here and she's got a little room to herself, like a little day room. And she comes out. She's not food aggressive or anything. She lets you feed her. And then I had to just catch her a couple times and stick her on a leash and show her I wasn't going to hurt her and take her on walks. She was just wonderful. But, we're trying to find her forever home, and we want her next home to be her forever home. So right now she's back staying with me, and she just got spayed a couple weeks ago, so no more babies for her.
No
But
more babies.
she's a very happy dog. I mean, I take her out and the first thing she does is rolls over and wants to be like belly rubbed, and she wants to cuddle and snuggle, and she's the best on walks. She's such a great girl on a leash. But, if anybody out there is interested in a Frenchie or trying it out, or, has the patience for her, doesn't have any other dogs, maybe no kids, I'm not sure unless they're older, she could be a good addition to a small family, or, some single person or a couple. But
Yeah.
it just takes a couple weeks. They always say 3, 3, and 3. Like 3, I think they say like 3 weeks to get on your schedule, or maybe it's like 3 days to get on your to decompress, 3 weeks to get on your schedule, and 3 months to like decompress. And I feel like it took that for I think that's about right. Because it did take her about 3 days to adjust. And then she was like, okay, I like you. And then at about 3 weeks, she started to be like, okay, maybe I'm open to somebody else. And now I feel like she's very, very calm and easygoing and stuff like that. But anyway,
Yeah, she seems not riled up compared to the other Frenchies. You know how the Frenchies get all riled up and they're like,
yeah.
"Oh, who's there? Who's there?" She seems calm. She seems like my friend's dog that is actually from a breeder as well. She was
Hmm.
rescued from a breeder, and she's just the calm mama. She's just like, "I'm the boss of everyone, but I also am just going to be calm." Like,
Yeah.
she puts everyone in their place because she has 3 Frenchies,
Yeah.
and so she adopted the mom of the 2, babies, actually, because the breeder was, getting rid of, but she came from a great breeder, you know what I mean? Where
Hmm.
they wanna find homes for the dog instead of just dumping them at the shelter like they do. But it's so wrong how many people are out there breeding Frenchies and stuff. Can you talk a little bit about like the overpopulation, the breeding of Frenchies, and how they kind of just get dumped in the shelter now, and how
Yeah.
there's like a need for them to be taken care of from this?
Yeah, there's so many. I work with a lot of different rescues. Just, we're not a rescue, but we are starting our own little rescue org. It's going to be called the Frenchie Coalition. It'll probably be out soon. We're working on our website, and we're really busy, but we try to help as many dogs as we can throughout the year. And I think just last year we rehomed like 16 Frenchies, and most of them came from breeders. So we have actually had relationships with some breeders where we kind of stayed in with them just to kind of find out like what dogs are you getting rid of, what dogs are you doing this with, because a lot of them will take a dog that they say, oh, we breed them 3 times and then we retire them. Well, that's not necessarily true. They'll breed them 3 times and then they'll give them to another breeder who will then try to use that dog to mix with other colors. And it's all about the colors for a lot of these breeders. I haven't seen any ethical breeders, maybe two, and I follow them. But the rest of them, it's all backyard. It's all, hyped up costs, and they raise these prices so high for Frenchies because that's what breeders are paying each other for these dogs. And then they can be like, oh, I paid $50,000 for this dog, so you should pay me 25, $30,000 for its puppy. But because there are so many people that tried to get into the market of breeding Frenchies, backyard and otherwise, um, there's really just so many on the market. People can't get what they want for them. And so they're wheeling and dealing to get a price for them. And what we found happening was that these breeders, they're not taking care of the mothers. One, so they get these mothers pregnant, or they're not really paying attention to who's mating with who in the house. There's just unfixed males and females everywhere. They have them stacked in crates, and they're hurting their paws. There's a lot of aggression in the house because of all the different female smells and the males, and fighting for dominance. And um a lot of that you don't see, but I mean, you see Frenchies come out of there with like damage to their ears or their jaws or their paws or their eyes. And, a lot of that's due from fighting just in the house. But, yeah, what we saw was, that because people weren't making the money, they were either one, not able to pay for the C-section, because most Frenchies need to be C-sectioned out because their heads are too big. I know there's a few people that are like, oh, my Frenchie had natural birth, but, that's not safe. They should be planned C-sections with a proper vet that knows how to do that. And um, what was happening was they didn't have the money to pay for the C-sections because they weren't making the money back on the last litter of dogs, or they weren't saving the money to take care of that female. If I were to ever have bred any of my own females, they would have been treated like queens. They would have had their own little room. And there was a time that I thought about, oh, my little boy and my little girl, they make really beautiful babies. But then when I think about how hard it is for them to even have babies and the risk to the mother and to those babies. It just didn't, you know, it didn't register to me that that would be a good thing. I was like, that's not gonna, it's not worth it. Not worth it to lose my Frenchie for more babies. There's so many out there that need homes. And,
Yeah.
I am a Frenchie advocate. I love Frenchies. I will probably always have Frenchies because they're always going to exist. But I do adopt. I do find Frenchies that are out there. I don't think I've paid for any of my Frenchies except for my first one, and that was, you know, almost 17 years ago now. He's since passed, but he's my little Milo angel. Got me addicted to Frenchies and their personalities and all the love and everything they give. I paid for him, and then my second girl was a gift from somebody. And then when she passed, I ended up getting my little Gigi, who looks like a double the size of her. She's actually kind of a micro Frenchie. She's super small, so low to the ground. But when I got her, she was also a gift. But she came from one of the breeders that I ended up getting the next three of my dogs from. But those became trades. Like we actually were trading her services in order to get dogs from her so she wouldn't breed them because she could not afford to one, feed them, or two, medical care, or three, C-sections. So, I just think that there's a lot of greed in selling Frenchies, and right now it's so competitive with people, trying to sell them, and now everyone's, marking their prices down to try to get rid of them, that a lot of these rescues now are hearing from Frenchie breeders saying, "Listen, I'm getting out of breeding Frenchies. It's just they're too much work, they cost too much, there's too many people on the market," and they're just dumping off, 25 dogs they have in their house, one breeder, onto one rescue, which is
Yeah.
a lot. It's a
I
lot
think,
for a rescue to take on.
yeah, I think it's so crazy because there are so many Frenchies out there now where really the market is so saturated. Like, you go and pay for a 60 grand Frenchie and then now it's in the shelter. Like,
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, there was another rescue that, I've done some work with, and they actually rescued a pregnant, full like, almost to term, full pregnant female from a shelter in Long Beach. And why was she there? Why is she there, when she's about to give birth and, she should be somewhere safe and, preparing to
Yeah.
have her puppies. And they rescued her and they brought her to my vet, who's Dr. Jeff Werber. He's very famous for Frenchies and many other things. He's an amazing vet. He's been our vet for God, 20 years for me and a lot more for Troy. But he did the C-section and I met the rescue when she was in there with the puppies, and we actually ended up getting a couple of the dogs rescued out. One of them went to New York and he's living his best life out there in New York.
Oh my
But
gosh.
it's crazy. I mean, there was one breeder, I don't even want to talk about it too much, but there was one breeder, she actually killed one of the pregnant females because she didn't have the money to pay for the C-section. And instead of calling a rescue, like someone with a conscience would have done, or just calling a vet and maybe giving up the rights to that dog to save her life and her puppy's life, they took her to a garage and they tried to do the C-section themselves. And they lost the babies and they lost the mom. And, it's actually how we ended up getting our last two Frenchies that we have, because she had two pregnant at one time. One died with all her babies. The other one had one baby. That baby died. And while that was happening, she was like, well, I lost, 100 grand from, you know, breeding this Frenchie, and all of her babies are dead and she's dead. And so now I got to breed this other one who was 10 months old. And that's our now Freya.
Oh no. 10
And
months old too.
she was 10 months. Yeah, she was 10 months and she was in heat. And she was like, well, I'm just going to breed her because I need to make up for it. But about 9 months earlier, she had actually offered her to me as a gift because my boy had died that I had for 14 years. And I said, no, I can't take another puppy. And she's like, I just want to give her to you to mend your heart. And I was like, that's sweet. I was like, I still have two and, I'm good, but she's beautiful. And, so we're actually driving in the car and Troy was just like, no, no, you promised her to Jarek. And, convinced her to give her to us, and I was just sitting there like, "Okay, we're going from 2 dogs to 3," and then, literally like a few days later, the second dog that she had that had the puppy die, she was like, "She's no good to me now." She had one baby, it died. She's no good to me. Still stitches, fresh out of the hospital. And she was like, "You can come get her. I don't want her." And so she ended up in our house, and we had arranged for her to be adopted, but that person ended up traveling a lot. And she just needed so much TLC. She had infections and all kinds of stuff happening from the surgery. It took her about a year and a half to recover, but that's my Minka. So we kept her. So we went from 2 to 4 dogs in about 2 weeks. But I mean, that's my experience. I'm sure that there are people out there that really care. And I've seen some that have set up great kind of setups for breeding Frenchies. There might be one or two, but I think what's lacking is I feel like there's some like real emotional like intelligence and empathy that's lacking in these people that are breeding. Like they don't look at dogs as if they're, living human beings. They're just property to be sold, you know. And as much as I love Frenchies, I mean I don't want them to not exist, but I do think there should be, some stricter laws and more investigations on people that are reported for breeding and having 25 dogs in their home in crates and things like that, but there's not a lot that you can do.
Yeah. No, there's even these like frou-frou puppy shops, and I literally see these all the time. And honestly, my sister's gotten two from like these frou-frou puppy shops in a sense where they're online. She's literally paid like, I feel like 16 grand or something for one of them. And then they sell like these little mini Frenchies and stuff
Yeah,
too. But people don't realize like even those places that are charging so much for a dog are not, they're like mass producing dogs. They're
yeah,
getting them out there, and are those dogs actually getting the care that they really need in that time? So that's something I think about. I mean, I have a dog from a breeder, but that breeder I followed for over 18 years. I like did all this research. We did hours on hours conversation for her to even think about giving me the dog. And now it's funny to this day, like she has a checklist of what I can and can't do for the dog because she knows her dog's genetics,
yeah.
knows what her dogs can't do and can do. And so I have to follow that. And then she follows me. She checks in with me.
Yeah, and we check in with all of the people that we've rehomed dogs with. I keep in touch with them, and we'd like to know how dogs are doing. And we always tell them, listen, if something happens and you can't have this dog, you have to bring them back to us
Yeah.
because we want to know where they're going. If I lived in a bigger place and had a little ranch, I'd probably have 100 Frenchies on my property. But I can't say no to a Frenchie. But we are looking for this one's little home. And if there's anybody out there that wants a cute little Frenchie and wants to put in a couple weeks of work to let her fall in love with them, she is literally the sweetest. She just wants to love on people.
Yes.
She just wants someone to love her. She's 5.5.
Okay.
She'll be 6 in June. So she's about the same age as my Frenchie Minka and about 6 months younger than my Frenchie Gigi. So but she's really tiny too. Like she goes on walks. I walk her in the rain and it's like she's so low to the ground that her whole belly's wet and muddy when I'm in. But she's potty trained too. She does not like to go potty in the house. She has a
Okay.
baby pad in her room, but she rarely uses it. Like she has to go out, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, just to go potty and stuff like that. She's such a good girl. But
Yeah.
she doesn't really know what toys are yet either. She kind of like I'll give her toys and she doesn't really care about the toys. I don't think she's ever had any, which is kind of sad, but she just wants to play with you. Like she'll just have like my finger in her mouth and she'll just wiggle her head and she's gentle, but she's very healthy. She's seen my vet, you know. She has
Yeah.
some allergies, but she gets a shot for that and she's good. She's a healthy
Yes.
girl.
So for the people that are not on the video version, describe her coloring, her looks.
Lucy is a very short Frenchie. She is a red fawn, kind of blondish red coloring with a black mask and little kind of like blackening around her ears and eyes. She weighs about 20 pounds, which is it's pretty small for a Frenchie. Most of ours are like 24 pounds. She's got dark eyes. She's just sweet and lovable.
Oh my gosh, she's like literally looking up at you like kisses. Give me love.
Yes, she's just a sweetie. She's got these thick little paws, which we're trying to get under control. I think she has some allergies to the grass and stuff like that around here. But she's so sweet. She's so easygoing. She's just a fun-loving little girl.
I love that. Well,
I would
I feel
keep her
like
if I could keep her.
yes, you wish you could keep her. I feel like with any Frenchie too, they're just prone to allergies.
Yeah, and especially the white ones. Oh, they're so
Yes.
bad. They have the worst allergies. And some of mine are one of mine's even allergic to fleas. She gets bit by one flea and it's like she looks like little cottage cheese on her sides, but they have their little meds for that. They take their once a month pill during flea season and stuff so they can go on walks. And she's not like she doesn't really want to play with other dogs. She's funny. She'll bark at other dogs. She's not really interested in other people. She's just, I want to be around you. I want to be around whoever's in the house. And she's good. She's easy. She'd be easy for someone that works at home. To be around her. She has her crate in her room, but then she just has it's open and there's like a little gate and she has a little more space in there with her food and water bowl and a couple beds and she's easy in there. She's fun. You can lay on the couch with her, the bed with her, and she's just like she'll just come cuddle up with you. She can't get close enough. Like she literally like keeps nudging you. It's like you cannot get any closer to me. But she's fun and you know, we have a lot of other Frenchies that we want to rescue and help out. But if anyone's interested in her, they can always DM me on my Instagram and come meet her and check her out and see if it's something that they want to commit to.
Yes.
And we
It's
do like
like
we do like trials too, come do meet and greets, see how that goes. If it's something that clicks, then we can talk about meeting up to do little walks and go from there. It's not like an immediate adoption. We want to make sure that it's her next home is like her last home,
yeah,
because just transitioning into my house from the foster before, it took a little bit of time. So
yeah,
we just want to do what's right by her.
yeah, so true.
But she loves the farmer's dog food. That's what they
Okay.
all eat over here. It's like they eat the turkey food. It helps reduce their allergies, I think. Maintains their weight really well. Never had an obese Frenchie.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I remember when we both were ordering farmers' dogs for our dogs, and
Yeah,
they would just keep sending it and sending it and
yeah,
sending it. And then we had to be like, pause, pause.
yeah, I know. I'm always like, it's like I can't tell. It's like sometimes they're eating a lot. Like might eat like 4 meals a day right now on the farmer's dog. And then I brought it back down to three, but now I have all this food that's still coming. And so I skip a week, and sometimes I forget. And then I'm like, my whole freezer is just like dog food. And then there's a shelf thawing in the fridge, but they love it and they don't get fat from it. They stay lean, which is great for them and their bodies, a little bit of, if they get overweight, they can have more back issues and stuff like that, which is always something we worry about with Frenchies. But we have little stairs in our house everywhere. They love their stairs. They love jumping up and off the bed but they have beds everywhere. My house looks like a shabby chic house just because of the dogs.
Love it so much.
It's very
So
cool.
I love it. So aside from rescuing and doing all of that, what else do you do? I know we were talking about media marketing and anyone that
Yeah.
like wants to put out products. We talked about even doing my products.
Yes. So, I work with a lot of different brands from fine jewelry to fashion and beauty brands. I do their Google ads, their marketing. Some of them have image, and so I use their image, but sometimes people don't really know what their image is, or if it's a new brand, they don't really know their customer. So we bring them in and they actually meet with Troy and myself, and Troy helps them curate an image for their brand. and we can help them get their models, clothing, anything they need so that they have content for their website, social media, press, any of those kinds of things, even product shots. And we develop product as well. So we actually work with a lot of different labs and manufacturers. And I'm actually working with a couple different aesthetics offices right now because they want to create their own brands, and working with a dentist who wants their own brand of products. So, we do help them curate those, and we do everything from image and branding to marketing, and we do their e-com. So we can actually build their websites, their Shopify's, do all their linking to their social media, and just help them put out the content that would attract a customer. And then there's a lot of brands out there that they exist, they already hire us, they do really well, but they need better imagery. So we help level brands up with their imagery, and professionals. So there's a lot of professionals, they don't really know what to do with their image, or, they're not sure if they want to be out in front of the camera or public, but, we help them, introduce themselves to the world. And, in our day and age, everybody wants to know who they're working with. So, what we found is, people, when they see their doctor, they tend to choose their doctor based on photos and skill. So,
Yeah,
we see a
especially if
lot of that.
especially if you're putting stuff in your face or your teeth, you wanna see those great photos, you know?
Yeah. And you wanna see their before and afters, and, just who's working on you in general. But, I work with so many different types of people. Like, I'm even working with someone in real estate and construction and food. Ads can kind of go anywhere, whether they need photos from Troy and, the food business or not, or, maybe not always, but, anything fashion, jewelry, beauty related, or just with professionals. We're like a one-stop shop for people to come in. You've experienced a shoot with Troy, and, everything
Yes.
that comes with it. I mean, he does everything: the hair, the makeup, the photography, the styling. I mean, he just shows up with rocks of clothes.
Oh, yes, at the butterfly
Social
Social
butterflies, yeah.
Butterfly, yes, and that was so fun going there, picking out the clothes, and she had so many unique items, and there was this one, oh my gosh, there was some bags I wanted there. I
Yeah.
just wanted to go shopping.
Yeah, I know. I've taken so many people there, and we actually just took another client there that, I meet a lot of clients too that, they've already spent a lot of money trying to develop an image for themselves, or they've paid people to do their setups, their website, their image, their social media, and it's just not right, or their marketing's not right, or something's not aligning right. I get a lot of clients and a lot of, professionals and stuff that come to us because something's not working. So, we do try to help them troubleshoot those things. And, with brands that are existing, sometimes it's easier to help boost them and reach new people and sell more. And but with brands that are new, sometimes it takes longer because they really haven't found who their customer is yet. And some of them will do a shoot because they think this is my market with my products, but it's really not. It
Yeah.
might be, they might be thinking I'm 25 to 35, but really the people buying are the 35 to 55 that are shopping. So, with Google Ads, we can help them run ads for a certain period of time and really collect that data on their brand and who's attracted to it. And then from there, we can go back and say, we need to do a shoot that aligns with the data, that aligns with who's shopping in what areas, um, and what their affinity is. And, with social media, we can do social media marketing and ads, but with Google Ads, you can be a lot more targeted as to who your shopper is. So, that's what I specialize in. And, I have some other people that specialize in AI and stuff like that on my team. We've built AI chatbots for people for their website, and, software systems. So we kind of do everything. And it's fun. It makes it fun because it's not like I go to the same job every day. It's almost like every day is a different project, but I really enjoy it.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, I feel like We've really covered everything except for I think what we should do is get into the Patreon, which is exclusive part for everyone. And then maybe like you just give your ideas to me about me and just like be like, I would do this for you, Tara. I'd do this for you. And then so people can just like see the product detail of like what you would do. I know we talked about some my cake business. I'm sorry that
Yes. Well, I think you talked to Troy more about your cake business, but
that's
I
true.
love the idea. I mean, I think that to start, you just need to kind of get into it and like we need to just plan like what is she going to do? How's she going to get herself across? What kind of content do we need to shoot? And really just spend a day kind of being like these are maybe the first three things we're going to touch on with cakes and she's going to make these three things today, and
Yes.
kind of get you making them, talking about them, why you're making them, why you love them, what's special about this recipe. Is it a family recipe? Is it something that somebody made for you as a kid and you're like, I really love that cake as a kid. I'm remaking it, or this is my dream cake, or maybe it's my future wedding cake. I don't know. There's so many different things you could do with it. And just starting by filming that content and then slowly releasing it to see people's reactions to it, and then, you
I
know,
love it.
kind of going from there and then maybe taking requests from people and seeing like what should Tara bake next? Maybe that's a challenge.
Yes, I love it. Well, for the people that are dropping off right now, where can we find you on social media? Where can we connect with you for if we wanted a Frenchie? Where can we connect with you if we want to work with you?
Yeah, you can just find me on Instagram. My Instagram is at Jarek Addison, JarekAddison. My page is covered in Frenchies and supermodels and videos. It says at the top that I manage photographer, makeup artist Troy Jensen. So if you found that page, that's me. You can DM me there, message me there for anything fashion, beauty, or Frenchie related.
Love it so much. Well, thank you, Troy, and we'll let the people drop off now for the people that are dropping off. Thank you for listening to Tara's Baddies Club. If you like this episode, please go give a good review, write a comment. I'd love to hear your feedback. Just if you're going to give me critiques, give me a nice Oreo cookie sandwich critique where you're nice, then you give me my critique, and then you bring it back to kindness because that's what I love. And if you want to be on the podcast, you want to feature your story, contact me, write me an email at terranewellpr@gmail.com and submit your story because I love to talk to people who want to share their story on the podcast, want to talk about trauma, all the good stuff, and I love a good pitch. So pitch me your story and hopefully we can have you on. So until next time, I'm Terra Newell and thank you for listening to Tara's Baddies Club.